Why did Chris Meloni resign ahead of the 12th season of Law and Order? What has he been doing since leaving the SVU universe? And how did the Law and Order writers drop a massive spoiler about the show's future? Hi, I'm Joe, and you're watching OSSA. An unexpected announcement. In 1999, the world as we knew it changed. With the introduction of Law and Order SVU came one of the best crime-fighting duos in television, Stabler and Benson. For years, the detectives tracked down top ratings and amassed a cult following, culminating in a 2006 Emmy nomination for Christopher Meloni for his portrayal of Detective Elliot Stabler. So, when the actor later suddenly announced his retirement as Stabler after a decade of headlining the show, fans were heartbroken and confused. In 2010, Chris announced that he would stay for the 12th season of the show, due to air in 2012, before hanging up his badge for good. But when he was asked why he was leaving, the actor explained, "I think 12 years is enough, a good number." Sure, at the time, Chris softened the blow of his departure by giving audiences a final season to say farewell to Stabler, but that didn't mean his departure was handled well. On screen, Stabler abruptly retired from the police force after an unfortunate shootout that left a young girl dead. Disgraced, he was put on leave before suddenly resigning, and left without a farewell to his partner or colleagues. Allow me to repeat, he left without saying goodbye to Benson. If, like us, you think that his lackluster send-off was due to SVU being salty, you may be onto something. It turns out that there was more to the actor's departure than we initially thought. The real reason was all about the Benjamins. Show me the money. In 2011, Chris and his co-star Mariska Hargitay were in the process of renegotiating their salaries. At the time, the duo was among the highest-paid television actors, earning roughly $395,000 per episode. So when Chris was offered $300,000 per episode going forward, it meant he'd be losing nearly a quarter of his, admittedly pretty impressive, paycheck. Sadly, he and the bigwigs at SVU were unable to come to a financial compromise, and as a result, Chris packed his bags. Thankfully for fans of the crime procedural, Mariska didn't have the same issue. After his final episode aired, Chris told the New York Post that there were no hard feelings, elaborating, "How I left was a different issue and had nothing to do with the Law and Order people, the SVU people, or with Dick Wolf. I left with zero animosity. But since then, he's been giving us mixed messages." In 2017, he told Entertainment Weekly about being open to doing the last few episodes, "So that's really all I have to say about that. It's not up to me. I'll just say that." But a year later, the actor tweeted that he had absolutely zero plans to ever return to the SVU. However, we're not the only ones who want him back. In 2019, the SVU showrunner admitted, "Look, I assume that if some year, some decade, couple of decades from now, when we get to the last SVU, Christopher would have to come back before we do the last episode or before the show signs off." Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to deliver some pretty epic news. Not only is Chris returning, but it's not because the show is coming to an end. It turns out, happy endings are possible, but more on that later. A happy detour. Despite his awkward send-off from SVU, Chris had no trouble diving into a bunch of new projects after his resignation. He also got to spend a little more time with his wife and 2 kids, which is pretty important if you consider the 16 hours a day he was away from home while filming SVU. Apart from some pretty impressive supporting roles in The Handmaid's Tale and Veep, he also appeared in the 5th season of True Blood as a sassy bloodsucker. Then he headlined a comedy show called Surviving Jack before lending his voice to the animated Harley Quinn series. In between, he's done a few other smaller roles and appearances, proving that, if anything, at least he's not typecast. But his largest and most recent role after SVU was starring in the Syfy series Happy alongside Patton Oswalt. The show was based on a graphic novel, and in it, Chris plays a cop-turned-hitman who has an imaginary friend that takes the form of Happy, a blue winged horse. Understandably, Meloni was a little confused by the premise, but totally intrigued. The end result of all this madness, however, is a very niche show that the actor is pretty damn proud of. As he told Collider, "If you're a person who's comfortable in the what the hell moment, you're gonna enjoy the ride." Admittedly, Chris has spent the last decade making his resume even more impressive, but he hasn't really seemed to have found a niche yet, and now we know why. His heart is still with the SVU. And as fate would have it, the show's writers feel the same way, and they're about to prove it. Player 2 has re-entered the game. In what has to be one of the greatest returns in television history, Elliot Stabler is coming out of retirement. That's right, folks, Christopher Meloni is back, and he'll be appearing in the 22nd season of Law and Order. But there's a catch. He's only coming back for a guest appearance. When the actor sneakily posted a photo on Instagram of a navel tattoo, many fans immediately made the connection to Detective Stabler, and hopes started to rise. And when he accompanied it with a recent pic of himself with his former co-star Mariska and a caption referring to them being closer, the internet went wild. Later, when Mariska Hargitay added her own snaps of the two to Insta, we couldn't help but take it as confirmation. Stabler was definitely coming back, and it was just the thing we needed. Okay, well, we probably all need a minute to get our heart rates back to normal. Don't forget that Meloni's return begs the question, why now, after all this time? And the answer to that question will make your day. Nope, it's not for money. And it's also not just to make fans happy, although that's a major plus. The real reason for Chris's upcoming guest appearance on SVU is to lay the foundation for something even better. The actor has actually been cast as the lead role of a brand new Law and Order spinoff called Organized Crime. So we're guaranteed to see Elliot return for a full season of crime fighting, and we can't wait. It's all in the details. Thankfully, we're not totally in the dark about the new show. Here's everything we know so far. Law & Order Organized Crime will be a 13-episode series based in New York, and as the name suggests, this time, Elliot Stabler is after the criminal elite. In addition to seeing Stabler again, the show promises to regularly feature Olivia Benson, giving us ample opportunities for epic crossovers and amazing nostalgia. As for the premise, details are sketchy. What we do know is that the showrunners have admitted that Elliot Stabler will return after dealing with a major personal loss. And while everyone involved with the project is keeping frustratingly silent about just what type of loss this may be, we have an idea. We're pretty sure the drama has something to do with Elliot's family, but we also kinda hope we're wrong. Keep watching to find out if we are. Whatever tragedy has befallen the unfortunate detective, it's going to make for some good character growth and epic television. A glimpse at the show's official synopsis on NBC's website reveals that, throughout the series, we will follow Stabler's journey to find absolution and rebuild his life while leading a new elite task force. And Chris is ready to tackle the role, explaining, "In real terms, society has changed dramatically, and I think the person Elliot was, he has evolved. I think it's going to be a challenge for Elliot, one that I think he's going to meet." Sadly, we are still going to have to wait a while before we get to see exactly how Elliot has evolved, because production has been halted, and not for the reason you may think. Interestingly, the shutdown wasn't because of the pandemic, although that didn't help either. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the real cause of the delay was the exit of the showrunner Matt Olmstead, meaning that a new hire is necessary before anything happens. In fact, as of July last year, Chris actually had no idea what was in store for his character. He joked to People magazine that, "The writers are trying to figure out the arc of the story, who the characters are, and how they interact, and I have yet to see a script." What about that unfinished business? We don't know about you, but we need closure on Benson and Stabler's partnership. When he left, we were robbed of a proper farewell, as well as any hopes of a possible romance. Sure, we've spent the last decade watching Olivia's glorious rise to chief, but not without the distraction of her unfinished business with her former partner. Thankfully, off-screen, things haven't been so strained. Despite not being co-workers, Chris and Mariska have remained really good friends, and we're really glad because they need to bring that chemistry back to the screen, and we're not the only ones who think so. Meloni told the New York Post, "Benson and Stabler are inextricably linked, locked, and connected. I think there is truly and deeply a worthwhile inherent drama in exploring that relationship and the complexity of how Stabler left, the unresolved emotions both characters feel, and how the fans feel. And it's not just his relationship with his previous partner that we need to see more of. What about Stabler's family? Could the tragedy that has been teased for Elliot have something to do with his wife or 5 kids? Unfortunately, it may just. Initially, the Organized Crime showrunner teased, whether we'll get to see his family as well remains to be seen. When Stabler first left, he was still married, albeit with some issues. Despite this, Elliot's family was supposed to feature pretty prominently in his guest appearance in SVU, with his son being drugged and his wife needing some good old assistance from the law. But then there was a pandemic and the episode was scrapped. In an attempt to rework the family angle, the Organized Crime writers, headed up by Warren Leight, accidentally revealed a major clue. In response to a question about Stabler's family, Leight said, "What had happened to the Stabler family after Elliot both left SVU and apparently left them?" Whoa, back up a minute. Left them? Like divorce? Say it isn't so! In either an attempt to recover from this blunder or just to tease us some more, Meloni followed up this accidental tidbit with some good news. He said of the character, "I think he's in a good place now with his family, and I think he's in a much better place with himself. I guess the only way we'll be able to solve this mystery is to see what happens in the spin-off." Now, if only we had a release date. What are you hoping to see in the newest Law and Order spin-off? And do you think it'll be worth the wait? Let us know below, and until next time, stay awesome!